Welcome back. Hearing is essential to our well-being, and what better person to tell us about all the latest technological advances than Ken Post from Hearing Remedy. Welcome, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good, very good, very good. So tell me a little bit about the latest technical or the latest high-tech hearing aids that you have on the market now.
Okay, the latest ones are the ones that actually talk to your phone. So they have a Bluetooth connection. So your phone can, when you answer the phone, you just push the button and you hear the voices right on your hearing aids.
That's amazing.
Which is great in terms of, if you've ever been in a noisy place and you've got the phone here and you've got all the noise going in your other ear, here you get the voice going into both ears and you get a nice, crisp, clear conversation right into your hearing aids. So that's the latest things that are coming out.
Now, is that something that you would replace your old hearing aid with this new one, or is it an attachment?
It's something that's built into the hearing aid. So.
Okay,
yeah.
great, great. And is that particular type of hearing aid small or large?
It's basically this one here that I have down here. There's the one previous to it, but it's the same. They've just squeezed more stuff into it with the technology, so it's basically the same size as the previous version.
Oh, okay.
They're still pretty small.
All right, great, great. And then there's a lot of hype about the over-the-counter hearing aids, but they're not available yet, right?
Correct. The hype was it came to a vote in Congress to tell the FDA, we want you to look at this and come up with a proposal for what to do with over-the-counter hearing aids. This is a long process. Could be 2 to 3 years before they come up with the rules, and then the manufacturers have to figure out, I've got to follow the rules and come up with something that meets the FDA rules. So it's going to be a long process. I had someone a year ago came in, had a hearing test, and said, oh, I heard there's something really new coming out. I'm going to hold off. It's like, yeah, but it's going to be, you're going to put up with 4 more years of not being able to converse at restaurants and stuff, and or family gatherings. That's a lot of your time that you could be actually participating in the conversations.
Right. So on our screen we have 2 different types of hearing devices. Now, in regards to the ones that are over the counter, how will those differ from the ones that we see here?
I would imagine they're going to be more similar to the look of the higher end as far as the size of them.
Okay.
We basically have on the left side we have the high end hearing aid. On the right side we have the very low end hearing amplifier. This is something you could buy for maybe $15.
Oh wow.
So they're very, very inexpensive, and this is way more. This is closer to $6,000 or $7,000, depending on what features you're getting.
Right.
But so there's quite a difference. There's a difference in size also. The pictures don't show it quite so well, but this is a much smaller and more discreet in terms of the hearing aid.
That's a huge cost difference. How do people deal with that in terms of insurance and things like that?
That's one of the more difficult things in terms of Medicare doesn't cover hearing aids. You'd think of all the things that people that have Medicare need would be glasses and hearing aids. Exactly. They don't carry that. They don't cover that. So a few of the supplemental plans do, not too many, but for the most part, you're looking at doing maybe some kind of financing or whatever. We do have a lot of different financing options to help you get into a better hearing aid, because basically the lower end hearing aids, they do help you hear, but when you start getting into the challenging situations where you really want to hear, like restaurants, noisier restaurants, and family gatherings and that kind of thing, the low end doesn't help you that much there. You really have to get the high-tech hearing aid to help you in those situations.
Okay. And I'm sure you've been asked this before, but for my own knowledge, what age do people really start to have to worry about whether or not their hearing is going?
I have people coming in their 50s now.
Oh, wow. Is that from damage that they've had?
A lot of times they'll say, I was in a rock band.
Oh, yeah.
Or we have a lot of people that went to a lot of rock concerts. So you have people that were exposed to a lot of noise. We have people that worked in conditions where it was very noisy. One guy worked on airplanes.
Oh, sure.
And so it's been very noisy for him. So that brings, it doesn't usually happen immediately. It just takes over time. Instead of happening, say, in their 70s, where it's happening in their 50s.
Wow.
And I think with the iPod generation, we're going to have it probably even happening earlier than that.
Sure. I mean, I see more people just running around with headsets in their ears constantly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you wonder how
Yeah.
loud that is on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly when do you think the over-the-counter hearing aids will become available again?
That's hard to predict how
So we
long
don't
the
know.
FDA will take. Typically, it's 2 to 3 years. So I would imagine it's going to take that long. They do a lot of investigations. They'll talk to a lot of different people about how's this going to affect the hearing aid industry. How do we not confuse people, as opposed to, it's going to add some confusion. How do we minimize the confusion for people? What are we going to call it? They don't even know what they're really going to call it. Right now it's called over-the-counter hearing aid.
Okay.
They may not call it a hearing aid. They may call it something else, so that there's less confusion between a hearing aid and an over-the-counter device.
Got it. Well, very good. But in the meantime, go with a hearing aid now and then wait until the next one's coming.
Well, the thing we do know about the over-the-counter, they're only for mild to moderate hearing loss.
Okay.
Now, typically a person that comes into a hearing aid place for a test, because usually there's something going on. They're noticing something.
Right.
By the time you're really noticing it enough and it's annoying enough for you to come in, you usually have more than a moderate loss.
Right.
So most people coming in, they're not even candidates for that type of hearing aid. They have more of a loss than that's going to help them in.
Right. Okay. Well, very good. So we talked about the hearing amplifier, which was the picture on the right, and that they're around $15. And then the other one, the hearing aid that you pointed out, was more on the higher end. But I'm assuming that the higher end will do a lot more things for the individual, right?
Yes. Well, there's a spectrum of pricing for hearing amplifiers, starting at about 15, going up to into the hundreds. The same with hearing aids, starting off with about $700 or $800, going up into the $3,000 range for one. So there's a whole range, and you get typically better, but sometimes, especially in the amplifiers, it's the same thing, but they just got a different price tag and call it a better name or whatever, and they're charging you more for it. But the hearing aids, you really are you are getting, as you get into the higher end, the more technically advanced hearing aids, you're getting a lot for that. You're getting, you're going to be able to hear in many, many more situations with that hearing aid. Okay,
that's very good information. And then also, if someone has questions, your website, or they can call you.
Yeah, we have a website, and we're happy to talk to people on the phone. When you come in, if you want to get your hearing tested, we don't charge for the testing. We do a very thorough test to find out where you're at. We like to talk to you about your, what types of things you like to do, because if you're not as active, you don't need, and you don't, say I never go to restaurants, well, and I don't go to family gatherings, well then you can use you don't need to have all that super technology that helps you in the restaurant if you don't go. So we really like to get to know you so that we can recommend an appropriate hearing aid for you.
I think that's great. That's good that you are able to help them. Great. Well, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Very good information. And everyone, if you need to have a hearing check, then Ken is your guy. So thanks again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Coming up next, we have the Newport Harbor Orchid Society, so stay tuned.